Hi there, welcome to our channel. I'm Vic.
I'm Nick.
And we're Envy Board Gaming. And today we're looking at Keep the Heroes Out. This is a game designed by Louis Bruet and published by Bruet Games.
Bruet
Games. So it's a self-published, self-designed game. Yeah. First one, right?
I
First
believe
game?
He might do the art too.
Yeah, he does. I think he does. And man, is the art good.
He's a very good artist.
Get ahead of our review, which we're changing things up this time. So first, we already did a playthrough on this, so you can check that out if you want to get familiar with the rules, how this game plays. We're not going to do an overview of the rule set in this video. But also, we are going to go a little bit more in depth with our reviews. We're going to sort of change things up. Nick, do you want to speak about that?
Yeah, first off, I'll just mention this is a 1 to 4 player game. It's about 40 minutes or so. There's a bunch of scenarios in the game too. As far as how we're going to do our reviews, we're going to try to stick to this format where there's going to be a lot of different categories that we felt was important. So I was inspired by some different people on Board Game Geek, trying to see what was important to them, and these are the categories that we came up with. So we'll just go in order. I won't just start listing them. There's quite a bit. Some will get more time as they're important. They might be weighted more to our liking than others.
Yeah.
But we'll start with game flow. How did the game flow for you? Does it feel fiddly? Does it feel natural? Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Well, I think that the phases are really clear in this game. It's really easy to know what you're doing and what's going on. I would only say that sometimes you can lose track of how many monsters did you draw or whose turn it might be. Because was that your action or mine? Because you do spend some time thinking about yours. But I think it's pretty clean, the phases that you go through and the way you play.
Yeah, and I think I guess it depends how many monsters you're drawing out. Because in hardcore mode, you're doing 3 cards. It'll be hard to remember that maybe.
Oh yeah,
right? Is that number 2? Is that number 3? Mm-hmm. So I can see that if you're good, but then that means you've been playing a lot longer too. If you already escalated to hardcore mode, you've been playing this game quite a bit because it's not an easy game. I'll say the game flow is a pro. It's a good game flow. You do your actions, then they do theirs, and the next player's turn. They do their actions, then the heroes do theirs. And I feel like the game flow is good. Mm-hmm. How about downtime?
I think it's okay. It's minimal. It's a turn-based game, so when the other person is going, they have their phase, and then they have the hero phase where they have to fend those people off, and you don't really have much involvement at that time. You are watching to see what happens, where the heroes end up when they come out, or what your colleague or your lover does on their turn. So
yeah, in general, I would say this is a pro as well because you can plan for your turns. Sometimes they're not very complex turns. Yeah. In our playthrough, it maybe took a little longer because they're kind of like multitasking. I'm trying to focus on different things. I couldn't really focus on my cards. But normally, if you're just playing mono your friend or whatever, it goes pretty quick because you can look at theirs while they're doing it, and you're interested in their turn still to see what they're doing. Yeah. And you're interested in the monsters, or the heroes, what they're doing. I'm going to interchange that.
Yeah,
this is reverse.
And I think that, but we'll speak to that in a second. But yeah, I agree.
Gameplay, is there depth here?
I think there is to a degree. I don't think it's not a super complex game, right? This is a dungeon horde style of game almost, but not quite. Like it's a dungeon defense game, but unique perspective. So I think that the gameplay is a pro. I think it's good.
I think it's very, very good for this type of game. I think it's super high and you can tell that just by the pure test of, are you getting better as you play this? If you are, then you're thinking differently. You're thinking better. You're playing this game better. You're finding different ways that you can escalate. Maybe you will be able to play hardcore sometime, which is crazy for us right now. We're not that great. But every time we play, I feel like we're getting better. We're getting better. We're making better decisions, more meaningful, long-term decisions that are impact the game. So I think the depth is very good for this type of like a dungeon fighting thing.
Mm-hmm. Especially with the dungeon book that comes with it, with the scenarios where you can look at what's the special ability of that hero that's going to be coming out. Oh, maybe we might want to base our selection of a character on that to try to help us towards winning.
Okay, so this game has mechanics that are like, there's drafting in here. There is
deck building.
There's asymmetrical player powers. Mm-hmm. What do you think of mechanics? Are they interesting?
Worker placement, are they boring? Too, because you're kind of worker movement. You're taking. No, that's not really true. But you do get to put your characters out in different ways. Like they have the characters have their own methods of getting on the board. Like the skeletons, when you kill somebody, you replace them, and it's so cute.
Yeah, asymmetrical.
Yeah, so I really love that because
the mechanics you say are good.
Yeah, strong, very strong.
Because there's there's quite a bit. There's quite a bit going on for something that you think might be a simple game.
Yeah.
And the mechanics they work out. What about randomness?
This is one that I thought about when I was first considering this category. There are times that things can go really bad, and I mean that's part of the challenge of the game. I think it's good that it's a challenging game as opposed to a game that we're just winning all right away every scenario. But we've had to replay some of them, and as you saw in our playthrough, which I'm not going to spoil anything, but things get dicey. And out of nowhere, you can be all over the map or all over the dungeon. All your characters are out, and then suddenly, you're overrun by heroes, and you're a lot of your guys are off the board.
Yeah.
So it's a bit random in that regard because you never know if the wizard comes out and you didn't do anything about the cell people. Well, they could be released in that time, or it depends on the scenario too.
Yeah, I say this is a neutral because it is high random. There is things that the reason I give it neutral though is because there's a lot of things you have to mitigate. You have to be in control of. You have to be aware that you might be. This is a weak spot. This is like a chink in our armor that they might be able to get through these defenses, and we need to address it. But yeah, sometimes it really doesn't matter. That points. It's kind of rare that it really doesn't matter. But sometimes it feels like if we draw this card right now, this is going to hurt us. If they spawn here, this is going to kill us. And you just kind of have the luck of the draw. You have the mercy of a deck, and you put yourself in that situation. That's why, in most situations, you put yourself there.
Yeah.
So I'll say it's a neutral.
That's why I think it's neutral too. I don't think it's negative necessarily because I think that also speaks to the spirit of what the game is. Like it's a dungeon game. You're not going
to have perfect information.
Yeah, like it's something that's crazy is gonna happen. A new hero is gonna come you never thought was gonna show up. So.
All right, I'll take the lead on some of these. I realize I'm like quizzing you almost. Replayability. I think replayability is amazing. In this type of game, replayability is super high. It's somewhere in the 9s for me if I were to score on a scale of 10.
Yeah.
Because there's so many scenarios and there's so many different ways to play. There's so many cards that can come out. So many heroes that you can, or so many monsters that you can be, and so many of these different people that are going to come out in different orders, and the board is going to be ever changing. So I think replayability is through the roof.
And the loot, while the loot deck is not like this massive loot
I wish
deck,
that was a little larger.
Yeah, that was one thing that I think you called out last night, and I was agreed with you on that. I thought it was bigger. But I do like that they have different requirements. They're not just like you get a loot because you killed a hero. No, you have to go generate a resource and then bring it down and get that, exchange that for that type of loot. You can refresh the loot. There's more to it than you think. So yes, definitely a lot of replayability. I agree.
Okay, next one I have is something we'll be brief on because we've only played this game at 2 players and at 3 players. So scalability on a 1 to 4 player game, we can't speak too much on it, but it seems good.
Yeah.
It seemed good for me. It's played well at 2 and 3. I can tell you that. So that's all we can really say about that. Do you agree? The table hog, is it the table size? Is this a table hog? No, I don't think so. I think it's fine.
I think it's a medium hog.
Okay.
Because it depends on what you're building out, but we do have a big table, so we tend to have other things on the table. It's not like we're playing with just the game alone, so I have to remember that. But yeah, I don't think it's terrible at all. I think
no,
you have a regular size. Yeah.
So I think it's pretty good. All right, so what do we have next? Theme.
Yes. Theme.
We're not theme people.
No, we're not. But I liked this one. It's just like that. Not just like
Heroes Wanted.
Heroes Welcome.
Welcome.
I thought that was so clever. I loved it. Every time we play that game, I get this goofy smile. So I like the same thing here. I liked that we are on the flip side. We're the people who we're the monsters that have this dungeon, and we don't want these heroes in there. So I like that theme.
I'll say overall it's a positive. I can't add too much because I'm not really a theme person, but overall it's a positive. Just because it doesn't put me off of the game at all in any fashion, not even slightly.
There's skeletons and blobs.
Yeah, it's a twist. You're the bad guys, so that's fine. I don't mind that at all. Table presence, I think here is very good.
Yeah.
The art is phenomenal. The graphic design is phenomenal, and the way it looks, you have the big chunky meeples and the great art on the board. So I think table presence is very good.
Yeah, and the more you look at the board at the dungeon, you find cute little oh, look, that frog's got his tongue sticking out, or there's quirky little things in the artwork as you look at it.
It's very good art. And then I actually mentioned this already, components. The components are high. They're good quality. Nothing here felt chintzy. I can't think of anything. Even the cardboard tokens were fine.
The cardstock, yeah.
Yeah,
It's fine. It's not like a super thick stock, but it's not flimsy at all.
and great
Not cheap.
meeples.
Yeah.
Of the heroes are very good,
Mm-hmm.
and the art, like I said, on there is really top notch. Price and value, I think, is good here. You're getting this goes with replayability. If the replayability is good, then I think the value here is good.
It's higher, yeah.
Yeah, so I have no complaints about the value what I've spent on this game. I even kickstarted it, and I still don't think that I overspent at all. So I think our price value here is very good to keep the heroes out. Next up, we have setup time. I'm gonna go. That's a pro, I guess, because it says everything that you set up with the scenario, and it's organized very nicely. Even when you distribute the person you want to be, you just hand them the deck, and it tells you where they start. I feel like this is above average.
Mm-hmm. And I really like that the tiles for the dungeon are not double-sided. So you don't get stuck having to flip them around
Look
like,
around.
what room is this? It's the same rooms every time, laid out in different ways, and there's doorways and passages to go through. So it's not just like putting it out at random and you can go anywhere. There's a method to how it's built out. So, yeah.
Okay.
I like that.
Game length is fair to me. It's like a 45-minute or so game.
Yeah.
I think it flows fine. I have no problems with the game length either.
Yeah, I like the game length as well. You can be surprised and lose very quickly. It just depends on how you play, I guess.
All right. Only a couple more. Complexity?
This is not a super complex game, but it has meat on its bones.
Yeah.
Like it has more to it than just playing a card or like rolling a dice and moving or something like that. Or a game where you just move one, you have up to 3 movements, or that game that we played, Mythic Mischief, had where you were gearing up or upgrading actions to be able to move long. I like that this is driven by cards. I like card-driven games where your actions are driven by what your cards are, and you can get better cards over time. So I thought that the complexity is probably medium. I don't think but it's more towards the easy side because of, I don't know, I think it's approachable for families.
Yeah, and I think there are a little bit of those fiddly rules that I could have mentioned at the very beginning, our very first thing about game flow, that would fit in this complexity category, because there are things you might have to reference again, like, oh, what do they do? Did this summon right away? Like when they awaken, do they do their action, that special action they do?
And I've asked you too. I go, oh wait, are we sure that this archer doesn't do this now because they just got activated? And
it feels like there's a few one-offs there, and maybe you'll find them in the rule book. It is pretty well explained. The rules are nice, but occasionally you might have to reference Board Game Geek even for some one-offs, like just random one-offs that might appear here and there.
Yeah.
So I'll give the complexity a neutral.
Yeah. So how fun was it?
This is the biggest one of all.
Yes, the hugest category.
I put it all in caps.
Is it fun?
If we were going to weight all these categories, this is where it matters. Is the game fun? Do you enjoy playing it? And for this one, it's a yes. It's a very strong positive. For a cooperative game, which cooperative games are so hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
They can be really lame and kind of dull. I don't know. Just kind of going through the motions. The game's playing itself. Of course I'm going to do this. Of course I'm going to do this. This one has good decisions, and it's not too difficult. It's good game flow. Everything really hits really great. It's a pleasure to look at. The graphic design is one of the best graphic designs I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great fun factor is really high.
Yeah, I agree. I had so much fun even just picking a character. Even the first part of deciding who am I going to be, because they all bring something different to the table. They all have unique action cards. What scenario are we going to play? Because even we've replayed ones, we haven't gotten that far in the dungeon book, but we've replayed games that we lost, and it's still fun. And I don't know how many games that you could say that about, that, oh, I enjoyed losing to a scenario and redoing it over and over.
It's nice because you can see what the enemy, because every scenario is a different enemy, you can see what their special is, and you can kind of cater to what player you want to be for and develop a tactic. This game, I'm going to try to do this because they can do this.
Yeah.
And
even playing off each other. Like, how fun is it to be able to be like, I left you a coin.
Yeah, and you can generate that for this
I made you this, so you can do that. And like, there's good coordination that goes on. And I am partial to co-op games. I do play a lot of competitive games with Nick, but I like when we can break up some of the competitiveness and play something together, even if we lose together.
And I'm not a cooperative person. I think it's fine. I think it's good change up. It's not my fastball, though. It's not what I want every time. So my score is going to reflect a little bit, tapered down a little bit, because it's not my type of game. For what this is, though, I'll give my score first.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm going 8-4. It's
Wow.
a good, great cooperative game, I should say. It's a
That's a
great
strong
cooperative
score.
game. Yeah, one of my highest. It reminds me of a Skull Hollow that is cooperative.
That's what I was thinking when we were playing.
Yeah, and there's a little more to it. There's a little more, different variability to your actions.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Well, my score is very similar to yours, but not the same. A little higher, 8.6.
nice.
Which makes sense because I like the co-op games a little bit more than you do. Yeah, I just have so much fun playing it with you. And right when we saw this game, I saw the little skeleton guy. I knew that I was going to be a fan of this game. So
yeah, we played it first with the designer actually on
Tabletop Simulator.
Tabletop Simulator or
Yeah.
Tabletopia. I cannot remember.
Mhm.
Probably Simulator. Can't remember though.
Yeah.
We played it and we had a good first impression there, and now we have a really good first impressions of, well, actually the whole review. We've played it now, I don't know, 6 times or so of the physical copy, and it was not a letdown at all.
Mhm.
At all. It was great.
That's always a good thing. And shout out to Allison from Better Half Reviews for also bringing this game, I think, up to us, or maybe have asked
Yes.
us about playing with the designer.
Yeah.
That was a good one, Allison.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you.
call.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed our video. And if you want to check out that playthrough, like I mentioned, we have another video for that. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, please, and thank you. And subscribe to our channel for more reviews, playthroughs, and overviews. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.